This is the second video about activity on a property in the Midwest. These are parts from the same conversation. Here's what they said. Literally, in the beginning, it all started as your typical flesh and blood type stuff. After we met some other researchers local to us, we eventually went to a camp out, and this person from another area in the Midwest was talking about them on their roof, going through their walls, leaving stuff inside the house, and they said they'd follow them home from a forest hours away. I'm looking over at my significant other, and we're thinking, this person sounds loony. Sure enough, 2 weeks later, stuff started showing up inside our house. The first thing that really blew our mind was, we started a gifting spot on our property with just marbles, toys, feathers, things like that. I asked, did you start gifting for any reason? When this stuff started, I was online, burning up my phone every night, burning my battery, just researching stuff in so many Facebook groups. I was reading a bunch of stuff, listening to what people were doing. I was in a couple habituation pages, and they were talking about gifting sites. I was like, that sounds cool, so I leave stuff, they leave stuff. We were kind of making a relationship, like a trust thing, so we started leaving stuff. Like we picked a rock and started leaving toys and balls and marbles. Then one time all the marbles were gone. And this was shortly after that person from the Midwest told us all this crazy stuff. Well, one of our family members had a dream one night, and the Sasquatch told them to look underneath their pillow. And so they wake up and look under their pillow. One of the missing marbles. We had green marbles back there that were all gone. There was a green marble underneath their pillow. Side note, that was what they began telling me that blew their mind in the beginning when I asked the question about why they started gifting. They continued, then it was like the next day, a feather was found on the dining room table. Some black lava rock was found in the kitchen. We don't have that kind of stuff around here. I asked, were the doors locked? Oh yeah, I grew up in a rough city. All of my doors are always locked. We were robbed as a kid. They broke into the house when we were gone, so it's been instilled in my brain. I walk out to get something in the shed, I lock the house. So yeah, nothing got in the house. All kinds of crazy stuff happened. I could go on about stuff we've experienced forever. So now I just tell people, just ask me about something and I'll tell you if I have a story about that. People ask me, have you ever seen Cloaking? Oh yeah, there was a female, January of 2016, 35 yards away. She cloaked right in front of me. I can describe how the whole thing happened. What happened was, I got up in the morning. It was a cold, snowy morning. I went to get the fireplace going. So I'm just sitting in the chair, waiting for the fire to get stoked up, kind of looking out the back window. The back of my house has a lot of windows, and it's right up against the woods. All of a sudden, I'm looking at this tree, and I'm like, what the hell? I had to do a double take, and sure enough, I could see a tannish color, like the color of a deer, a female Sasquatch, squatting down with her knees bent, leaning against a tree. I could see her breasts, everything. I couldn't make out her facial features. It was just far enough where I could see eyes, a mouth, but not detailed. So I watch her and she's just looking around like not a worry in the world, looks back at the house and then looks at me, and I think then she realized, holy crap, they can see me. I think that took her by surprise, that I could see her. So she went from a crouched down position, leaning up against the tree, and then slowly into a standing position, and then went around the tree and kind of got behind it and then disappeared. But the whole time she was doing that, as she was getting up, best way I can describe it, I don't know if you did it as a kid, but we did it as a kid. We get a bunch of index cards and draw stick figures, and then you flip the pages and it's like a cartoon, you know. You make your stick figure move a little bit. That's kind of how she was. She was kind of blinking in and out, like you see her, you don't see her, you see her, you don't see her, real quick, back and forth, back and forth. So I saw her doing that the whole time while she was getting up, going around the tree. I saw her stick her head inside the tree once, and then boom, gone, completely blinked out. So you know, I don't care what anybody says. I saw that with my own eyes. I don't know what they call it. Do they call it cloaking? Was she still there? Did she go to a different place? I have no idea. All I can tell you is what I saw, and that's it. That'll never change. I don't care what anybody tells me. One time my significant other saw like a person, but it was like fire. Imagine a person glowing like a fire, and they saw it, like walking behind the trees, And they could tell because it kept walking away. It kept getting smaller and smaller, like you would be distance-wise, going further and further away. And then it just, poof, disappeared. But yeah, everyone has had experiences. A couple of us had mind speak daily. Some had stuff in their rooms. Oh my God, I couldn't tell you how many times the door opened up and then something. Actually, not too long ago, one of us, the door opened, they freaked out and closed their eyes as they saw the door opening, then heard something come crawling into the room, come crawling up onto the bed, and it was sniffing them, like a dog would sniff you, sniffing at their head and everything. And then it went back, closed the door, and left the room. And they were like, what the heck? Oh, it's funny. Actually, we were leaving to go south the next day, and a friend was sleeping downstairs on the couch, and they said in the middle of the night they heard something, and looked up on the balcony upstairs. And there was something about 4 feet, all hair covered, looking over the balcony and looking right at them. They freaked out, pulled the blanket over their head, laying on the couch like that. They said it probably felt like an hour or so. And finally they had enough guts to pull the blanket back, and they looked up and it was gone. But they never heard anything, like opening doors, movement up and down the stairs or anything. It was just weird. Things like that were happening like daily. Then I asked if you ever tried to speak with them. I just told them, just don't be mean. Please don't try to scare people. Because there were times I'd wake up in my room, I'd see red lights, I'd see a big figure standing there. Others in the house would wake up all the time and there would be an 8-foot or 10-foot up to the ceiling. They have tall ceilings. All the way up to the ceiling, there would be a Sasquatch standing there. We know there is no way in hell that was real, like in the physical form. Because it would like destroy the stairs. Sometimes someone would get up, go to the bathroom, go to the vanity, look up in the mirror, and there's one standing there right behind them. They turn around and look, and there's nothing there. So they're like, what the hell? I just saw it when I look in the mirror, and then when I turn around, it's not there. Yeah, we had stuff like that happen to us a lot. Then I mentioned how it almost seems like some people may be able to see them, and it surprises them. Their response. After I saw that female, I never saw them for a couple months. But others in the house, there was a time when we were on the back deck and we were out there and something was throwing rocks at someone's window. And they were saying something is throwing rocks at the window, but I don't see anything. But I can hear something walking around, but I just can't see anything. And then I just got this feeling like someone told us to go outside. So we headed outside and I can hear something walking all over in the leaves and everything. And the others were like, you don't see them? They are right there. The mom, the dad, and 2 little ones. Everyone I was with was telling me, and I'm like, guys, I can't see anything. I hear them, but I couldn't see them. Then we got zapped. We're all like vibrating, like there's electricity going through us. For me, it got to the point where I felt like I was experiencing heartburn really bad. Then someone else from in the house walks outside and it immediately stopped. We explained what was going on and they didn't see a thing. And they thought, oh, whatever. They thought, maybe we're just messing with them. They go back in the house, and as soon as they went back into the house, it started up again. It was just meant for them to see that stuff, but I never saw a thing. I felt it and I heard it, but they could see them. They said as plain as day they could see them. They were describing them, their colors, their face, everything, and I didn't see anything. Yeah, we've just had so much stuff happen. Like I said, I could write 2 books, kind of laughing. Then I asked if they have received any messages through MindSpeak. Some of us receive MindSpeak like all the time. Yeah, they talk to them, but I don't know about any kind of messages. It was like they just wanted to talk to them. One time they asked one of us to go out into the woods, and I'm like, no freaking way you're going out into the woods without me. I was still leery about everything. Trust me, I was on the fence with all this stuff for the first few months or so. And it's like, finally, man, I saw the corn. There was stuff running around. I was standing behind the house and I could see the corn like next to us, and the corn is moving like crazy. And I'm like, okay, there's something out there, a couple things out there. And then I heard the loudest whoop and I was like, all right, okay, I believe you. You guys are here. No more on the fence crap. Then I asked, so you saw footprints and right away noises started that weren't happening before? Their response, every night and every morning. The most active it was out there was usually between like 7 and 10 in the morning, right around the 8-9 o'clock hour, because we always go outside and have breakfast outside. If it's warm enough, we're always sitting outside having breakfast. That's when we were always out there. I'd see trees being shaken. I'd smell that skunky smell, all sorts of stuff, like all the time. I'd hear like weird growling and barking. And we've learned over the years that just because they growl at you, that doesn't mean that they're mad at you. I mean, my dogs do that. I walk up to my dogs and they kind of start growling and everything, but they're happy to see us. I asked if you started talking to them to draw any boundaries or anything. They responded, I didn't start doing that until a few years later. I met one person who speaks to them and I started doing a bit more after meeting them. Really, the only time I spoke to them out in the woods, I wanted to send my apologies to that one, where I had asked them to leave as they were quite close to our car at a hot spot we were at, and they slowly walked away. It almost seemed like they might have been sad. I was just learning with all this stuff, you know? I was the same way. I was like, lost wood ape, that works for me. And then little by little, things just kept changing. It wasn't all at once. I asked, so you weren't really aware of people communicating with them or anything like that? Their response, oh no, I was online trying to find people. This researcher was telling me about this person here going through this and this other person here going through that. That researcher helped a lot because they were in touch with people who were going through stuff or have been going through stuff like this for a while. They were like, you guys have like a habituation site. I was like, what the hell is a habituation site? I had no idea what that crap was. Yes, it was very gradual. That was the thing. Our biggest thing was that, okay, we're not in any kind of danger, but not being in any kind of danger and still having something that's not supposed to exist. It's one thing when you go somewhere, you go to a state forest, you go somewhere and it's there. It's another thing to have it at your house, at your home, you know? And then when they started coming in the house, I was like, okay, what do we do? But then eventually we felt like this is a blessing. A lot of people just end up moving and freaking and going crazy. Moving to an apartment in the city like they never want to deal with that again. And then I said, that's a lot. Their response, yeah, there's been so much. I could just go on. We've had just so much stuff happen. But like I said, there was never really something where I was like, okay, we're good. Like I said, I was always a bit leery, always protective of my family. Never let anyone outside the house, even after then, by themselves. Like I said, it took us a good 2 or 3 months before we were comfortable. Actually, I wouldn't say comfortable, I would say brave enough. Before we were brave enough to go into the woods during the day. Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, even in November. I had an experience in November. This is a few months after it started. I was out there deer hunting in a ground blind and I saw a tree peeker. I got zapped really bad. It sounded like hummingbirds. I lost track of time. I was so freaking scared. And I had a 20 gauge slug on with a scope on with me. And I saw this guy watching me about 50 yards behind me. I kept watching this tree peeker and I was like, crap, that's the way to go back to the house. I was so scared. I was texting my significant other like, I don't know how to get back to the house. And they suggested taking another way back. So I got up, went out into the field. It was picked corn already and I walked maybe half a mile out of the way, down the road, making a big circle out of the way. I could have been home in 10 or 15 minutes the normal way, and it took me an hour or so to get home. And I did it to make sure I got home before dark, because I'm like, there's no way I want to be out here when it gets dark. And I had a gun on me. Yeah, once you see one, especially a big one, you're going to realize a gun ain't going to do nothing but piss it off. I mean, I had a gun with a scope, and I was afraid to even look at it through the scope, just to get a better look at its head, because it would stick its head out from a tree, and I would go back into my blind like, holy crap, holy crap, holy crap. Then, I'd look back there a little bit later, and he's gone, no head there. I'm like, oh, it's gone. I look away a little bit, look back there again, and I'm like, look, there he is again. And I'm like, son of a bee, how am I going to get home? And he's like right down the freaking trail where I need to go to get back. And I have a gun on me. In my mind, I'm like, look at it through the scope, see what it really looks like and stuff. Because all I could see is a black silhouette of a head going back and forth in a tree. And my other sense is telling me if I look at it through the scope, it's going to think I'm going to shoot it. And it's going to freaking come after me. Or another one will come after me. Because they're never by themselves. That was the end of our conversation. I found it very interesting and I learned a lot. The reason this seemed to end abruptly is because I took our full conversation and split it into 2 videos. Thank you for listening. I also want to express deep thanks and appreciation for them sharing this with me. I hope that for some listening, this might be helpful with any experiences that you might be going through. Thank you.